Welcome to Bridging Chicago, a podcast that aims to connect our listeners to Chicago's business, community, cultural, and charity leaders.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Bridging Chicago podcast. My name is Joe Amari, and I'll be your host today. On this episode, I'm joined by Sandra Aguirre, founder and owner of Hierbitas by Sandra. Sandra, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. So Sandra, you are a Chicago resident for your entire life, but you were born in Mexico. Could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, so my parents came to the U.S. When I was about 6 months old, and lived here all my life. Grew up in Little Village, and now as an adult, I've lived in the southwest side of Chicago, near Midway Airport.
Okay, what part?
Midway Airport, between Archer and Cicero, Garfield
Okay.
Ridge.
And you said you grew up in Little Village. What was it like growing up in the city?
Well, I grew up in Little Village back in the 80s. We pretty much played outside. It was, if we stayed in our block, so we weren't allowed to leave our block too much. But it was those times where we were able to be outside right after school till 9 o'clock, and no worries of any kind, and no tablets, phones, or any of that. So it was nice. It was nice. You knew your whole neighbors, and went to my friend's house and houses, and it was just different times. Different times.
Sounds like you had a good community feel.
Yes, we did. We everyone knew us, and we knew them, and we obeyed every parent in the block. So yeah.
And so you had a career as a teacher before you started your current business. Is that right?
Yes. So I went back to school as an adult. I went back to college as an adult due to circumstances in my life. I had to return to school as an adult. I was an adult learner, and I was able to get my bachelor's in education. So I was a teacher for a few years. Worked for City of Chicago CPS Public Schools as a third, fourth grade teacher. Then I was an ESL teacher for another school for K to eighth grade.
Okay. And so now you're the founder of Hierbitas by Sandra. How did you begin that process?
So while I was teaching in my earlier years of being a teacher, it was about 10 years ago. I just started my natural journey with natural deodorant. I probably will share a little personal story. I've always suffered with like odor, like underarm odor, and my aunt would always tell me, you should just do something natural. Use lemon, use baking soda, use something natural. Stop using those over the counter products. And when you're young, you don't listen to those type of advice.
Right.
So I started doing one day I just got fed up, and I said, what, let me try. Let me start doing my own research. And I whipped up really quick uh, deodorant with home ingredients that I had. And sure enough, that literally that day changed my life. And I said, wow, if this can do that to me, what else can nature provide? And that was kind of my early beginnings of this natural learning to use natural products and nature to kind of heal and deal with our own personal issues. And then from there, um, my sisters and I we founded another company, and I was with them for about 2-3 years, and then I branched out and started my own Hierbitas by Sandra.
Okay. And when you say natural journey, can you elaborate a little bit more on what that means to you?
Natural journey means to me trying to go as natural as possible, using herbs and plants, flowers, things that come from the earth, not so much things that are made in a lab or in a factory, man-made, more so from the earth. So
Hmm.
experiments with different leaves and flowers and just earth 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 products.
Sure. And what kind of other applications have you found in this process?
I've, as far aromatherapy, essential oils, body butters, just anything that comes from nature, and nature really does heal us within and outside. So like I said, I started with the eucalyptus shower bundles. They're actually fresh eucalyptus that I get from California that you hang in the shower, and the steam activates the oils in the eucalyptus and allowing us to breathe those in and getting respiratory relief, getting mental clarity, relaxing us. So all those good things that we can get from a medicine bottle.
Absolutely. I've definitely liked eucalyptus like in steam rooms. It's been amazing. It definitely makes you feel like you're breathing a little bit easier and opened up.
Yes.
Um, so when when you started the natural journey, what were some of the effects you felt as you started to use more and more natural products? Did you feel like you had a substantive change in your day-to-day life?
Definitely, definitely. It was an eye opener, because we're so accustomed to just reaching to the counter and just popping in a pill, or you know, um, just the TV tells us what to do or what to buy,
Mm,
and it really transformed my life and my family. It wasn't from one day to the next. It was a slow process, kind of transitioning things, and reading labels was very important to me. If I didn't know what it was, or if I can't pronounce it, I will not buy it. I rather make my own. So at this, I'm always saying, I'll make it, I'll make it, I'll make it. If someone comes to me with an issue, and I'm like, I'll make it, I'll make it. There's always something in nature that we can find to help the issue, help the ailment, or
mm.
things like that.
And you said you started a business with your sisters prior to your current business. What did you guys do?
So it's a skincare business. It's still live and very active. De mi tierra. We started with deodorants, sugar scrubs, body butters, room sprays, face serums, and just again ingredients from the earth, plants and flowers from the earth. So yeah, that's how we kind of started
Mm.
this.
And when you guys started that business, what were some of the challenges you guys faced? I'm sure that there was a lot of planning involved in getting that going.
Some of the challenges that we faced was we left our jobs. She left her marketing job, and I left my teaching job, and kind of adjusting to a new a new at least for me. I didn't have a business I don't have a business background. I have an
Mm,
education background, so I had to learn a lot of things, and which I'm still learning, um, as far as like technology. Instagram, I didn't have an Instagram. I would hear about Instagram, but I didn't have an Instagram. So it kind of forced me to learn new things, which
mm.
were were good at the end. They were good. um, as far as those are some of the one of the major challenges that I feel that me personally I went through.
Sure. I mean, getting the brand out there and getting some name recognition is definitely integral to starting that process. I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yes.
Also, your sister's background with marketing helped with facilitating that process.
Yeah, so she was like the background business side of it, and I was more of the maker, researcher. Let's try it on our families, like type of thing. So it
Sure.
it worked well. It worked well.
Sounds like it had a symbiotic relationship between your backgrounds.
Definitely, definitely. Yes.
And so, after that process, at what point did you think, okay, I want to start my own independent business?
After that, I realized that, well, her line is more skincare, and I wanted to do more of a aromatherapy side to it, and
Mm,
that I was really obsessed with eucalyptus, and also the need of it. Not We didn't have it too available in the south side of Chicago. If I wanted a bundle, I needed to either go downtown to a farmer's market or up north to pick it up. So the
mm,
accessibility of it wasn't around. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm going to take this route and start working with the fresh eucalyptus, fresh rosemary, more the fresh herbs. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to do. It's still I see like a big umbrella, or a big
mm.
tree. I'm just a branch, that just branched out.
Right. And you mentioned earlier, I think that you get your eucalyptus from California.
Yes, I do. Yeah, we unfortunately can't grow it here in Chicago, especially with this weather that we have.
The
Um,
beautiful 5-degree weather today.
yeah, so no, that wouldn't work too well. So yes, I have my vendor out in California that I've been working with since day one. And she sends me the freshest eucalyptus, freshest rosemary, that I can possibly find. So her eyes, I trust her eyes to send me the best.
Mm. How did you go
Mhm.
about making that connection?
I just did my research on, started Googling
Mm.
vendors, and then she came across, and I just, the customer service that she provides, and she really goes out of her way for me, so I can get really clean eucalyptus.
And so, for people that have been, contemplating using more natural remedies and, homeopathic products, what would you say to them to maybe convince them to get the ball rolling and give it a shot?
You know what? That's one of the hardest things to do. I'm not one to. I'm not in sales. I'm not in business, so I'm not really one to try to sell you something. I just share my stories and things that have worked for me and my family. And most people are open to trying new things.
Mm.
Um, and then others are, kind of like, I don't know, I'll stick to what I know, and that's okay too. It's
Right.
not their time. It's not their time. Like I said, I started this 10 years ago, so I was an adult already. So, excuse me. I just try to connect with people, share my story, and others share their stories, and it's really, once it's their time, it's their time to make a switch. There's no sales pitch or pushing my services or products on them.
Mm.
It's when it's their time, it's their time.
Sounds like an organic way to grow your sales, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, when you were, applying this natural process with your kids, how did they react to it at first?
Well, my two older ones, well, one of them is still kind of like, it's been hard. It's been hard. She's stubborn. My oldest son, he's all for it. He'll take anything that I give him. He'll like, yeah, give it to me. I'll use it. I'll put it on. I'll try it. And well, my little ones, they don't know anything else but that.
Mm.
Even, they can just wake up with something and they're like, can you give me an oil? Can you give me lavender? Can you give me, they already know. They don't really know over the counter lotions or anything like that. They know to ask for an oil or a butter or something in that nature. So I'm glad that I'm raising them that way. So when they're adults, they continue, turning into looking into nature for their well-being.
Right, absolutely. And I think about with more natural products. Sometimes there are unintended consequences of things that for a long time have been taken for granted as being safe and effective, and then in retrospect we realize that okay, there are some detriments to this that we didn't know about, and so these longer standing more natural based products might have those advantages that people don't even realize. Okay, rather than create something new, we can use something that's tried and true.
Exactly. I think about our ancestors. How did they do it back then?
Mm.
They went to their yards, or they picked whatever herbs they had, and they did their concoctions and boiled stuff and infused things, and that's how they healed. So that's
Mm.
more of how I look at it.
Sure. So, what do you think of for the future of Hierbitas? Where do you see yourself going in a few years, and then further down the road?
I get asked that a lot. And I know that for a lot of people, oh, I want to get big and grow big, but I want to stay local. I really want to
Mm.
stay local with my community in Chicago, south side of Chicago, provide services and products that are not so much accessible. And I just like to do farmers markets. I do local vendor events in the south side of Chicago. I do some downtown and up north, but not too many. But yeah, my goal is to continue to provide the need. There is a need for it in the south side of Chicago, and connecting with the community and with education, because that education part of me has never left. I like to educate people. Like I said, I'm not a salesperson.
Mm.
I don't just like, here, try it. I'm more of a, I like to throw in that educational portion to it and kind of give that information. And always, you know what, do your own research too. Not just don't take my word. So yeah, my goal is to continue to stay in the community, stay local, make connections in my own community here in Chicago.
Mm. You mentioned community a lot, and I think about that too. It's sometimes in the interconnectedness of the current world, we lose sight of the community. But the people that are most proximate to you are the ones that can have the biggest effect on your life. So I like that you have that impetus on locality. Um,
Exactly.
what would you say the biggest challenges are in growing within the community?
Um, what have my within my community? You know what? People are pretty nice. Like, um, even though we live in a world full of technology and people, if you are, people feel your energy,
Mm.
and if you come in with a negative energy or bad energy, people will pick up on it and will put a guard. But as far as challenges in my community, I haven't had one. I mean, yet. I mean, I know challenges are good.
Mm.
Uh, People have been really open to me. They love my products. They love that I'm here. They don't have to travel far. But no, like I said, if you are open and genuine and authentic, people will read that and kind of like, oh, okay, she's not, they can relax. So in the community, I haven't really found a challenge yet.
That's great. I think that sometimes the when you're doing the right things, they are kind of seamless, rather than facing constant obstacles. Sometimes those obstacles are maybe the universe's way of telling you, all right, there is a different path. But when it's seamless, you realize that, okay, this is the right direction. This is where I'm meant to be. And I
Exactly.
think about, you mentioned authenticity. I think that that is something that can be so well received because, like you said earlier, you're not going into it with a sales pitch, but rather the opportunity to share what you've learned and what's benefited your life personally with others. And I'm sure that that is something that people really take to.
Yes, and people do pick up on it, because I
Mm.
myself have been in situations where someone's just trying to sell me something. There's no connection. There's no looking at me in the eye, like, and I'm really old school. I'm really old
Mm.
school. I value those things where, um, let's talk. Let's go out for lunch. Let's not text. Let's not call. Let's have a quick conversation. And people like that. People like that, I think.
Absolutely. The connection makes it feel much more real rather than, I know exactly what you mean. Like someone comes to you with this sales pitch and from the moment that they start, they're trying to get you on this product or get you to invest in this thing. It feels like, okay, I'm just a means to an end rather than us working together, us growing together. So I think that that's
Exactly.
a big dichotomy.
Exactly. And if you focus on connections, then everything else just falls into place.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, is there a best way for our listeners to connect with your products? And you mentioned Instagram earlier, if you have
Yes, I do.
one.
I do. Yes, they can connect. I'm on Instagram, Hierbitas by Sandra. I'm on Facebook, Hierbitas by Sandra. And then I have an online store, cashdrop.biz forward / Hierbitas.
Oh, could you repeat that one more time?
Sure. Cashdrop.biz / Hierbitas.
Mm. And do you have any plans to open a brick and mortar store in the future?
You know what? I would love that. Yes, my idea is to, I don't know when, I don't know if this year, next year. My idea is to have I can't find a better word, but like an oasis for women to
Mm.
come and kind of come to this place, relax, um, read a book, just like a sanctuary for women that are stressed, or moms, women, just come. That's my vision. That's my
Yeah.
vision, to do have that, and then occasionally bring in like special guests, special speakers, to kind of motivational speakers to help women with uh, with the daily struggles of just being a mom and balancing
Mhm.
work and business and family and children and all that.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. And I think that people generally have taken more and more to that holistic approach of mental health and, realizing the stresses of modern life and the impetus there is to take a break, breathe. I'm sure aromatherapy helps significantly with that, but take a moment, breathe, and try and let yourself calm down so that when you face those stresses, you're more adept at dealing with them.
Exactly, to recharge, and have a place where women can come and do that. All women of all types of walks of life.
Mhm.
And I, my that is my vision, to have something here in Garfield Ridge, um, somewhere down the line.
Absolutely. Well, Sandra, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It was wonderful talking to you. And then one more time, could you repeat for our listeners how they can connect with you?
Sure. You can connect with me. You can find me on Instagram, Hierbitas by Sandra, Facebook, Hierbitas by Sandra, or on my online store is cashdrop.biz/Hierbitas.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for tuning into this episode of the Bridging Chicago podcast. Be sure to check out Hierbitas by Sandra on Instagram at Hierbitas by Sandra. And also visit the Bridging Chicago website where you can find other ways to connect with these businesses. Thank you so much, Sandra.
It was a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bridging Chicago, as produced by the SATC Solutions Center. Nothing contained in this podcast shall constitute financial, investment, legal, and/or professional advice. No professional relationship of any kind is created between you and the podcast host or guest. You are urged to speak with your financial, investment, or legal advisors before making any investment or legal decisions. Furthermore, the opinions expressed in this podcast are not necessarily the opinions of SATC Solutions Center, SATC Law, or any of its employees. This podcast is created by the hosts and guests' individual capacities. All opinions on this podcast are or have been rendered based on specific facts, under certain conditions, and are subject to certain assumptions, and may not and should not be used or relied upon for any other purpose, including but not limited to, or use in or in connection with any investment purposes or legal proceeding.